All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have just received in the mail a new grain mill. Now, this grain mill is designed primarily for cereal grains to break apart the grain and also to break loose the husk. There's my heater coming on, if you're wondering what that noise was. So I've got all of this packaging material here. There's the box it came in. It's called a crop duster. On the side of this, it also says crop duster. And then when I read the instructions, it says product name Malt Master. So I guess if you've got a Malt Master, it must be the same thing as this. Or this is the same thing as a Malt Master. I don't know which. These instructions are terrible. Okay, they just kind of show you the product in different stages and very poorly at that, very poorly drawn. So it's kind of up to you to figure out how it goes together. But there's really only one way that works well, and you know, once I looked at it, I realized, well, it's pretty obvious on this. So anyway, I broke it all open, and I noticed that they had two of a kind on these items right here, which is obviously part of the hopper, and two of a kind on these items right here, which are obviously part of the hopper. All right, and then this, which is the grain mill itself, and I was shocked. The quality of this grain mill, this thing is like, I would say, somewhere around between 10 and 15 pounds. It's much heavier than I thought it would be, much more robust. I'm shocked at how good it is. The rollers themselves, very smooth. Only one of them is active on turning. The other is passive. As the grains go through it, it'll just get pulled down. However, this one that's passive is the one that adjusts in and out. Now there's two knobs here that loosen it, so it can be adjusted, and then two knobs here which set the distance from the other roller. And it's already laid out on the scale right there on the side, very conveniently for you on both sides there. So it was a really nice build. A good handle here. It's got a metal handle. It has goes right on the crank very easily there, and then so this is something that should be very easy to put together as far as that part goes. I noticed that these must be the feet. Doesn't mention them in here as far as how this configuration goes relative to, does it go here or does it go here? It's kind of up to you to figure out, but I would say this: if your crank is going to hang on the outside of a bucket and these are meant to stabilize it on the inside of a bucket, then of course you'd want the narrower ones next to the crank side. Okay, just it's that engineering thing in me. All right, now here we have a bag of parts. I have here what looks like a seal that might go around the top. Yeah, that's probably what that is. And then a small bag of screws, and then two larger screws. And what the larger screws do, I'm not really sure. The smaller screws, I'm thinking, must be there for the purpose of holding together that hopper. Maybe the larger screws hold these onto the bottom. Let me look here. Yeah, there's a spot for them right there and there. So that's what that's for. Those two longer screws must hold those on there. Okay, now I'm going to break these out, and I want to open this for the purpose of seeing if I have a nut driver that'll fit onto one of these nuts. In order to put these things together, you know, quickly and make it all work nice and easy, and here I am fumbling with a screw of all things. It's nice to have what's called a nut driver. And that's an item that simply fits over the end of the nut itself, allowing you to very easily thread it onto whatever. Now sometimes screwdrivers can be used in that capacity if the nut and the driver end are compatible. And it looks like it's really not. It's bigger. I'd have to go to maybe the smaller end might work. Okay, nope. So I'm guessing that's not SAE, which I think is what these are. It shows the screw, but it doesn't show whether they've got the screw or the nut inside or outside. And then it really doesn't show how these panels go together. I was tinkering with them just a moment ago, and noticed that these holes will not align if this is sitting in the wrong place. All right. So apparently what I need is this. Let's see if it'll align. There we go, right there. Okay, so that, I'm trying to keep the seams on the outside. And there's holes aligned there, and it clears down here properly. So, my belief is, it goes on here just like so, okay? It's with this on the outside. So, what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna, you know, I've as an engineer and as somebody that's assembled so many things over the years, I can say that they put this blue covering on here, this blue wrap on the metal to protect this item during manufacture, because it's getting shipped from machine to machine and getting holes punched and getting bent, you know, in what they call a brake press. And so there's a lot of different things happening there. And so they want to protect it as it's being manufactured. And of course you might be thinking, well, I want to protect it as I put it together. Well, folks, if you do scratch it, it's not likely you're going to do much damage to it, but this stuff is pure hell to get off if something's already assembled. So do yourself a favor, when you purchase anything that has to be assembled, if it has this on there, just go ahead and remove it. I mean, it's not going to take you that long beforehand. But if it is already assembled, well, where all the seams are put together and where all the screws are, it's going to be absolute hell to get it off of those spots. But if you do it beforehand, as you can see, it goes pretty smooth, okay? So just do that to yours. Now I just kind of stationed myself right here on my flooring. I'm out in my shop actually, and this is just a little spot I have set up with some carpet, so if I want to sit on the floor or do some work or let my dog sit over here and chew a bone or whatever, I've got it handy. Now, if I remember right, seam to the outside and the curve on this facing outward and not inward. And that way it can point down and fit over the bolts in the hopper. Kind of the way things like that have to work. Now what I like to do on things like this is I will get a couple of screws in here and there to basically keep the shape, and then I go and put the remaining items in. Now between dry skin, arthritis, and being clumsy, I've got my hands full here. In some cases, like this, my screwdriver's not going to fit. So what do? I adapt. If you're wondering why I'm putting the nut on the outside and the screw on the inside, well folks, this nut and the protruding threads provide more surface area for material to get caught up on. Okay, where the screw head provides very little and a much cleaner surface on the inside where the grain itself is going to be. So I choose to do it that way. I don't know, there's instructions don't really show well enough to know from their perspective how it's supposed to be. So I just have to assume that this is what they wanted. And furthermore, this is kind of what good engineering would tell you to do it this way. They have what's called a stubby screwdriver. There's a little bitty screwdriver that's very short and fits into very tight areas. And a stubby screwdriver might be very helpful for this particular job. Okay, this little item here is what's called a stubby screwdriver. Little goodie that I've had for many years that doesn't get used a whole lot, but you know something, when you need it, boy, then you really need it. Okay, let's see. Get that turned the right way. Get some more of these screws in there. Alright, now using my stubby screwdriver, I'm going to adjust this adjustable wrench to fit on these and to hold them. I've got a lot of different kinds of wrenches here. I could have broken out a box end wrench or an open end wrench or any number of different options. I just simply chose to keep it simple. Okay. There we go. My hopper is all put together now. All right, so I've got the screw, or the nuts are on the outside. It's nice and clean and smooth looking on the inside. I don't have to worry about cleaning off any of that blue mess because we got it out of the way. Now when I put the hopper over the top of this, it occurs to me that it will fit where these two nuts and screws are already installed. Okay, so there is a little screw here. Let's see if I can loosen that off here. And it looks like the other end of the screw is threaded into the metal here. I can't swear to it, but it kind of, maybe it is. No, maybe it isn't. All right, now these nuts that are on here have a flange on them, and on the back side of that flange, I'll put one on my finger here, there's some little scores that stick up, and they're designed to lock into the metal that they screw against. It's like having a built-in lock washer. There we go, set it right on top of that. Now I'm just going to use my fingers to hold it on the inside, use the screwdriver to turn it from the outside. And the thing of it is that rough little edge that was right there on the nut will grab a hold of the metal, and it'll lock itself in place while you're tightening the screw from the outside. So there we have the hopper all hooked up and looking pretty. The bottom of this, we need to get our feet in place. Now, I determined earlier it would be wise to put the narrower feet closest to the crank end. All right. Again, there's no washers here and no instructions that are, well, meaningful. Maybe if the company that produces this would hire somebody that's fluent in English, they would be able to get a set of instructions that are a little more meaningful to the people that are purchasing. All right, because someone like myself, who's put together so many things like this in history that he can't even count them all, for somebody like me, this is really easy. But to the novice that doesn't ever, touch a wrench or a screwdriver, this might be much more complicated. All right, just saying. Okay, so I've got my feet on there, got my handle left, and turn this over. I think I'll get my top edge on here. Hopefully this goes well. Now I guess I got lucky. I just now noticed that there's a long edge and a short edge. So make sure to double check yours as you're putting it on, because you might be, just need to turn yours a quarter of a turn. That is quite nice. One last corner that's giving me a little trouble. There we are. Stay on there. Cool. Hey, I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing so far. Very pleased, in fact. So, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, with 2 screws and 2 nuts left for what I don't know what, but maybe they just put too many in there. And that happens. There it is. This little sucker is ready for me to mill grain with. Hot dog. I've always wanted one of those. No more waiting. Now, if I am going to do a good job of teaching you the tips and tricks and techniques of making good beer, then I need to let you know about a few little end runs. On your grain mill, they come with these beautiful little handles. They're wonderful. However, if you have a drill, all right, one of these things, it will fit right on this. And the next thing you know, you have a power mill. All right, now I also need to mention, do not do this fast. Keep your drill running on a slow speed.